Welcome to the Plenty of Ammo podcast, bringing you interviews with celebrities, sports stars, and many, many more. The Plenty of Ammo podcast, having real conversations about real life events. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some real conversation from a scouter that doesn't hold his tongue. The Plenty of Ammo podcast, with your host, Sean Ammo.
The Alley Theatre, Railway Street, Strabane, proudly sponsors the Plenty of Ammo podcast with Emer Maguire. For all Alley Theatre programmes, go to www.alleytheatre.com or call 02871 384444. Here I am at the Alley Theatre in the In Here Element Back Home Tour with Emer Maguire. I'm just with a couple of special guests here that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I've got Kieran and Mary. I do believe it, guys, that you've seen here before, haven't you?
Yes, I've seen her in Belfast.
Yeah, and did you enjoy it?
Really good.
And what do you think about her coming back home?
It's brilliant to see her in her hometown.
And it's a more or less sellout as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to see her. She deserves all the support because she's a very talented girl.
Oh, she definitely is, and it's going to be a great night. There's a great atmosphere about the place, isn't it?
People are glad to be out again.
Ah, well, they're all happy. I can see lots of people. Some people wear masks, some people not. But people are just happy about, weren't they?
Just more than the way in, then you're sitting here.
The main thing is that people are getting back together, they're enjoying live gigs, and Emer's coming home. That's and right. It's just a celebration of a lot of things right now, isn't it? Especially what's going on in the world, isn't it?
That's right. And as I say, it's great to see her. If you don't have to travel to see her, she's here in the hometown.
That's just brilliant to see. And here we are at the Plenty of Ammo podcast here at the Alley Theatre, and the show's about to begin. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the second episode of the Plenty of Ammo podcast with my special guest, Emer Maguire. How are you and how's it going, Emer?
I'm good. I am excited to be here. I am excited to be down in Strabane actually. I don't get home that often. And I'm really looking forward to being part of the podcast. I think the podcast is a great idea and a great concept. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Well, thank you so much for coming along. And for people that don't know, this podcast was originally meant to be on Zoom. But the opportunity sprung itself to meet face to face, and I jumped at the chance. And here we are. Anyone that knows me knows that I wing it, and I'm winging it to the highest degree here. So let's see where we get on. But we've been chatting off here, and it's been great crack, hasn't it? So I think let's just get stuck in. But we're in Strabane. People that listen to this podcast, people that know me personally, will know that I live in Strabane, and obviously you're from Strabane. So there's a good place to start. So for the first part of our podcast, Emer, we're going to talk about you, how you become such a well-known character with a high profile. And then the second part of the podcast, we're going to talk about the world of comedy, which is going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation, that part. But let's start at the beginning. So you're 30 years of age, Emer, and you're from Strabane, but you live in Belfast. So tell me what your upbringing was like in Strabane.
Well, I feel like we're in therapy. We're starting with the hard questions. What was your upbringing like? I think this is the part where you're supposed to say, I've had such an amazing childhood, an amazing life, or anything, in case anyone's listening. No, it was good. As you've said, I'm from Strabane. I grew up here. I loved it. I really loved it. All my family are here. I think in Strabane we have such a particular kind of sense of humour and things, which probably inspired me in terms of comedy. I also frequently tell people everywhere, people from Strabane are the nicest people, because I do think that's true. I think people from Strabane are incredibly friendly and things. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I kind of sometimes feel like I'm half from Strabane and half not, because I then went to school in Derry, so I know.
Big Strabane, Big Strabane.
Yeah, so I got kind of stick at school, obviously being from Strabane, but I feel like I kind of missed out on the full Strabane experience because I was surrounded by all these lovely Derry folk, and kind of into the Derry way of life. And then of course I moved to Belfast for uni, and then I stayed there. But I have to say, growing up in Strabane was very enjoyable for me. Very close to my family, had lovely friends. I kind of just had a lovely small community feel. As I said, always thought it was good crack. I was always doing something in Strabane, whether it was playing football or playing in bands or just hanging around with everybody and anyone. So yeah, I had a good time, and I've got 3 siblings who are very close in age to me as well. So I don't know. I always think we had like a good upbringing, a good kind of childhood full of crack.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, people, who listen to this that aren't from Ireland or been to Ireland, the word crack is going to get used a lot. So I have to give you.
We're not full of crack in that way. Like there's nobody calling child services or anything. Full of appropriate crack,
We have to give you one. But for people listening that aren't familiar with a small town, and there's a saying that goes around Japan. It's called small town mentality, but that can mean so many things.
Yeah.
We were discussing off there. It's unique. So describe to people what it's like actually living or growing up in a small town where you literally know everyone. What is that like?
Yeah, I mean, I know people say small town mentality, and obviously I live in Belfast, and I mean, to people who live in actual big places, Belfast is probably like a small town in itself. But to me, there's a big difference living in the city of Belfast and living in Strabane, and part of it probably is that small town mentality. But I always think, like you can use that as a positive or a negative. You think, oh, small town mentality, everyone knows each other, or you can think, like to me, small town mentality, you kind of change that into the positive of, well, it just means community, and isn't that great that you know everyone, and isn't that great that there's so many people you can ask for help, or someone knows someone who knows someone who'll be able to,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It is a good thing, and even like whenever I came down there this morning, we're in the Alley Theatre, doing the podcast today. It was just a beautiful space, and I came down earlier here this morning to get photographs, and people were saying to me, Maguire, is Jim Maguire your dad? Is Anne Bradley your mum? Is it? And I was like, oh my god, this would never happen in Belfast. Is this your auntie? Is this your? And I was like, it's actually kind of nice,
Yes.
it is nice. So I kind of like that side of things. So you can use small town mentality as a positive, but if people do use it as kind of a negative against you, I just just twist it and say, yeah, isn't it great?
What you're saying, it's about the attitude, how you see it, type of thing. So
yeah, it's just about perspective. People could say Belfast, well, sure, someone might say it wasn't great, nobody knows you. Someone else could say, that's awful, I kind of miss the feeling where like I don't know my neighbours in Belfast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really actually sometimes that's okay if you've had a house party all night and,
yes.
and you don't have to face them in the morning because you don't know them from anybody else. But sometimes it's kind of like you'd like your neighbours to be like that for you, But
yeah.
I think growing up with Strabane, whether people think it's positive or negative, there is that small town mentality. But I did like it. I also like the other way of being in Belfast and no one knows you. I think a mix of those things are good for me. But for me, growing up in Strabane was enjoyable. Like I always felt when I was growing up in Strabane, like we have this reputation. Like people think Strabane's not great, Whereas I hate when people say that. And like whenever I say, "Oh, I'm from Strabane," or when I say it on stage, somebody always goes, ooh, or, whatever. And I kind of make a joke of it because that's what you do. But, like, for me, it was a benefit.
Yes.
For me, it was a good thing, and a very, very big family, and because we're all in this small town, we were all always very, very close, and I always loved that. And my friends who live in Belfast, I don't see them have the same big families, and if they do have big families, they don't have the same closeness. Do you know what I mean? So it was good for me, and I always found it a positive. And people saying negative things about Strabane. One of the best things I always found about Strabane was I always felt that there was a lot of encouragement when I was younger for sports and stuff like that, which was always really important to me. I feel like we have such a talent in Strabane and kind of surrounding there for sports and music, which people in other parts of the country might not realise. But sports and music were both really big parts of my childhood, and I actually think, people say, Strabane doesn't get anything, West of Man don't get the funding, don't get the whatever, but I actually think that when you're a kid, and if you are somewhere and it doesn't have absolutely everything, well then you have to find things to do yourself, and those things you find to do yourself are things like sports, things like being active, and things like music. So those are two things in life I've always loved and always been interested in, and I think I only have that interest because I'm from Strabane, and I wasn't brought up in some posh part of South Belfast where I could go to, something every single night where I was too distracted to, focus on things that maybe in a small town like this were really important. So
well, let's put it in perspective for people again that aren't from here. It's a border town as well, isn't it? So that's quite unique again in itself. So the famous episode of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson's skipping from Canada to America, and I am that typical person that was, when I first moved over here, I was like, oh, I'm in my bubble bath, ooh, I'm not Howling. And I put on my Snapchat story and people just absolutely levered me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I thought it was hilarious, you know. But yeah, so so you mentioned sports. What's obviously being in a border town, there's you've almost mixing two different cultures, aren't you? So tell me what that's like, you know, growing up in a border town, and also what sports were you inspired by?
I was always really into football, so football of the soccer variant, and I always, you know, made the boys on the street, and you know, I've two brothers, one of them's very into football. We always played just by circumstance of that's what you did, you went out the street and played, you know, someone on football, so you played football, so that was all we did, all the time, do you know, like, do you know what I mean, everyone wasn't going to theatre school, and everyone wasn't, you know, going to the singing lessons. We were literally out the street playing football, which I think is a good thing. And yeah, so I always loved football, but I really loved any sport. So as a kid, I played football, played Gaelic, loved Gaelic as well. Played netball from school, Gaelic from school, and played science with football.
Right.
Did athletics, did kind of everything. I still play football now. I play for Team Belfast called Belfast Ravens.
There we go, shout out to Belfast Ravens.
Shout out to Belfast Ravens.
There we go.
Absolute best team in the country. And you know, I was always just really into anything and everything, active, fun, sport. It's just something I was interested in. But there is an interesting thing about being on the border with that.
Go on.
In terms of the, you know, playing the Gaelic and then playing the football, and then, you know, it's kind of an interesting mix. Like, see how I remember when I was younger in Toronto and Emer Maguire, it was like 2007 maybe, I can't remember what year it was, and like I remember the whole lead up to it, I was like, this is the most important thing in the world. Like,
Sorry.
You okay? We'll just start that again.
Sorry.
You're alright.
Apologies.
That's okay. Was that Louise?
No.
Oh, it was like
so we'll just go from Emer Maguire.
Yeah. I remember around 2007, I used to be some football fans, but that's not what it was. Toronto and Emer Maguire, and I remember like thinking, oh my god, like this is the biggest thing that could happen in the world. It was as if it was the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my god.
It is the Super Bowl for
exactly.
Super
Bowl, strong Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking, this is so incredibly important, and like being so emotional about it, being so passionate about it, and going down to
I can see, you know, I can see.
Totally. And like, I'm not even the biggest Gaelic fan in the world, you know, like you're one in the bridge or house painted in the Emer Maguire.
Yeah, even I know what you know.
Exactly, like, and we would go down to see that house, and you know, we would kind of, everyone would have the flags in the window and all this, and like, it honestly was like the biggest thing in the world. But then, see when you're in Belfast, like, I don't even know when the All Ireland's on, because there's, you know, there's none of that. So I think there's, even just in sports, there's definitely that influence of obviously the Irish sports that, you know, you don't see in other places in Northern Ireland.
So we spent maybe 11-12 minutes there being up Strabane, so we have to go to kind of the next part, like school. So you went to Derry. So you know, a lot of people, you know, watching this or listening to this will know that, you know, the famous TV show Derry Girls, and I have to say, me personally watching it, I'm glad it come out maybe years and years after me moving up, because I got all the jokes, and there's the famous scene where James is in the chippy with the girls, and I always prefer this when people know where I'm coming with this, and what's up with you, James? Why don't you want food? Oh, why's up there? And I'm like, I just don't want it, it's just too greasy, I just don't like it. And that's me, but I got the humour. So people, you know, who aren't from here, who haven't come over here, will not, Derry and Strabane, although they're so close, Derry is a city.
Yeah.
Strabane is a town, and there's a big difference in kind of obviously going in the back and the double and stuff. But anyway, you went to school in Derry, so how did that conspire? How did you end up going from living in Strabane to being in school in Derry?
Well, I know it's like, I love Strabane so much, I will fund my academic career in Derry. It's kind of, do you know what it was? So my big sister was at school in Strabane.
Okay.
In the common grammar, for anyone who remembers it, shout out to the nuns. And I was the second child of the family. My mum had gone to common grammar, my aunties went, you know, my dad went to St. Cummins in Strabane, so everyone got to Strabane. I mean, no one even thought about going to school in Derry. But I was probably a little bit more, I don't really know how you put it, but I was probably a little bit more academic.
Okay.
Maybe than my sister would have been. Okay, and my sister has lots of things that I'm not, like hardworking and talented and
treading carefully here, what you're saying.
Yeah, but I think kind of, yeah, probably more academic. So I don't know if there was some kind of thought of, oh right, well, you know, she should go to maybe a more academic school or whatever, even though the Common Grammar is a great school and things. And I don't know if that's how it came about, but I think basically I was expecting to do well on the, you know, she had to do the ridiculous 11 plus.
This big school, as you call it, visual secondary school.
Big school,
so you went to school in Strabane.
So primary was in Strabane, secondary was in Derry, but I was in Strabane and I had always assumed I would go to school in Strabane, and I think that's literally what it was. I was expecting to do well in 11 plus, so it was like, right, well let's ship you off to, you know, there's this great school in Derry, like,
yes.
you know, let's ship you off there. And also I kind of had gone around to see the different schools and things, and also at the time the Common Grammar and some of the other schools in Strabane were amalgamating to become Holy Cross, which is great, brilliant. But I don't know if there was some concern that it would be, you know, no one really knew what was happening, maybe a wee bit disruptive. Do you know, I was a very sensitive child, so, you know, I don't know how I would have dealt with that, you know. So I think it was just like, it'll be less hassle and she'll be suited to this school, so let's send her.
Did you live in Strabane and travel up to Derry, or did you move to Derry? You
travelled up. Yeah.
Right, so what was
horrendous
school bus in them days? What was?
Oh my god.
Are we talking early 2000s, are we? Or that's.
So I kind of went to see different schools and blah 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 and all this. Of course, went to the school in Derry to see it, Lower Cresty, and it was like, you know, we go on ski trips and we teach our kids, you know, I don't know what, doing water polo and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And I was like, God, I was so amazing, like, oh my god, like, I want to go there. And they brought us to their music department. It was like, you know, all these computers, and I was so into music, you know, and all this recording equipment. And I was like, oh my god, it's like heaven, like. And I was like, I want to go there, definitely. And I mean, because it's a good school, I was, you know, it's definitely, if you want to go there, encouraged to go there. Great. So got in, blah blah blah. It was fine. My two brothers then followed me there, and I had to get to school bus every morning. First of all, I am terrible getting up out of bed, so this was it kind of caused friction in my relationship with my father, because he is the opposite and he is great at getting up, and I think I ruined his life for 7 years getting me up for school, so it was always late.
Am I right in saying your mother's a well-known teacher in Strabane as well, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
So let's give a shout out to your mum as well. You mentioned your father, give a shout out to your mum.
Shout out to Emer Maguire.
And your dad, give a shout out.
Jude as well. He'll hate getting a shout out, but there you go, Jude.
There you go. So tell me this, so obviously, I mean, I come from a rough council estate in Liverpool, so school was always a part of my life, obviously, but I don't think it was drilled into me as much as maybe the impression I'm getting from yourself would be that your father maybe kind of drilled a bit of discipline into you going to school, so is that right?
Well, yes, I mean, I don't know that he drilled discipline into us academically. It's probably not the most academic, so it would be quite hypocritical, but like, my dad's a very hard worker.
Yes, routine.
So, yes, very hard worker, very incredibly organised, all those things. So, like, we definitely always thought our parents were strict.
Yes.
But
you always do, don't you? You always do.
But yeah, everyone always thinks that about their parents, you know. But they were definitely. See, I don't know now. He would probably say, "Well, I didn't really anything. You don't listen to me." But there was definitely. Like, there was definitely order in our house, like, you know, our parents were definitely in charge, and they definitely, you know, which is how it's supposed to be.
Of course,
I mean?
of course, yeah.
So there was definitely that, but my parents would definitely say with me, it just didn't work.
So
I just was not a real follower. And
you're 11, you're in Derry, you're in big school, you've kind of been excited.
Yeah,
you're excited because you've got all this, you know, obviously a big part of your life here is music, which obviously we'll come into it now. I have seen myself doing a bit of research, a lot of your kind of early YouTube videos.
Oh,
my understanding, we've all been there, we've all been, all the yours are scattered all over YouTube.
Friend.
Yeah. Well, I had to do my research, you know, I had professional podcaster here, by the way, yeah. But my understanding is at the beginning you were very much into the music side. You mentioned that the school drawing because of the musical department. I can see your early days. I'm assuming maybe early teens, you do know the music. So tell me how you go from being in there, you don't know anyone, but you obviously you played the guitar, I know you played the piano. Where did the kind of foundation start to become where you are now?
So I kind of like I always just had a real interest in music. Now my mum was very musical, and so like my mum would play the piano in our house. She had these old guitars that her auntie had got her, and you know, she's got a lovely singing voice. You know, she always sang at things and sang at mass, and she's on a chamber choir and everything. So she's definitely musical. She's definitely talented. But not so much. And
your dad's getting a roast today.
He is getting a roast. Can't roast in this face, but I roast one here. No, but it definitely. My dad's side of the family's not musical, but my mum's side definitely are. And I remember, you know, my granny having a keyboard in her house and playing the keyboard for me, and I think they all learned by ear, so it's not like they were trained musicians, and I just always loved it, so I kind of naturally picked up music. And even when I was wee, like, you know, everyone wants to play games and they're like, oh my god, let's play house and let's play post office, and all this. Everyone actually wanted to play post office for some reason. It's so weird.
What's that? I don't know.
Where you literally go, what's post office? It's the most boring game ever. You literally walk up to someone and say, can I post this parcel? And then they say yes, and they take like a leaf off you or whatever it is, and then they just turn around and post it nowhere, and then you just repeat the game. We didn't have a lot of imagination in my street. It was the worst game ever.
Right.
So I always wanted to play bands. So like I said, like, you know, we're gonna have a band in the street, and like this is gonna be the name. And like I wrote us tons of songs from I was like 5 onwards, so I was really into it.
Right.
So I was like, this is your part, and you're gonna harmonise. Like no one could do anything, you know. But we tried, you know. And I just loved it. We were called the Red Devils at one point. Like Man United.
Everyone makes face.
I was very young, and we changed our name to Cool Kids with a K for the cool. Do you know?
Oh, would you stop?
Classic. So so I was always really into it, and then when I was 7, my sister had been on piano lessons for a while. She's a little bit older than me. Like she didn't seem to really enjoy them, but I was so desperate to go, but I was too young. But my mum went and asked the guys, she was like, oh, she's really keen, like, is there any chance she could go, and blah blah, she might not be good, and all's here. So I went, and I just loved it, really into it. And then the boy across the street from me, shout out Colin, got a guitar, and I went over to his house, and I remember him playing, we were so young, playing Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I was like, whoa, like, I want to do that, like, that's so cool. So then I saved up all the money, and then it was either my communion or my confirmation, one of those money-making rackets.
Yes.
I made enough money to buy this horrendous purple electric guitar from Argus.
I hope there's a photo somewhere.
Oh, I still have it. I have it in my house in Belfast.
Let's hope we can take that out and put it on the podcast. Please.
The worst guitar ever. I'll find it for it. It's got all these stickers from South Park all over it. Like, as if I was like to watch South Park and know anything about it. And I started taught myself chords and blah blah. I remember I used to go to this man's house, and he maybe taught me 3 chords, and then he was like, actually, you know how to play guitar now. And like I would go up to his house and he would press play on the tape, and we both just play along.
So it come natural then, you think?
Totally, yeah. The guitar was definitely very natural for me, and I just loved it. Like it was all I wanted to do. And as soon as I could play guitar, I just started writing even more songs.
So you say this was what age? Was 7 or 8? Did you say?
7 I started piano, and about maybe 10.
So you're, let's say you're 11, 12, what you would call in England year 7, but over here it's called first year or P7, is that right?
P7.
So who would have been your like inspirations at that time? So we're similar in age, we've discussed off there, but like, who would, you know, your early 2000s, you're rocking around in Derry, you got guitar, piano, who would be inspiring at that stage?
I think you know.
Go on.
We've been at Avril. I mean, I thought...
This is why she's on the podcast, guys, because she likes Avril, no reason.
I got like 2 of those sweatbands and all, like, even though you clearly didn't wear them to exercise, around your wrist.
I have ones. I will show you pictures of me with Avril Lavigne, like, sweatbands, t-shirts, a lot, yeah.
I then got an Avril Lavigne signature guitar. Like, I'm such a loser. That's hanging up my house at Belfast.
You're not a loser, that's...
People were like, oh, that's a signature, who's that band? I'm like somebody cool, but I'm like, it's Avril Lavigne. So I loved her. Like, right. I copied her style. She wore a wee tie and all. Like, I got a wee tie from Tammy. Absolutely loved her. So that was definitely my inspiration. And I wrote all these like quite recently I found a notebook of the first songs that I wrote. I was 11.
Wow, okay.
They were all about really devastating heartbreak, but I never even, like, 11. I never even fancied it at that point, you know what I mean?
Avril Lavigne's first couple of albums are very kind of
Very grungy.
deep, yeah.
They are deep.
They are, you
So
know.
I was always
I've
like,
been there.
yeah, I was like, I'm like her, and I was like writing these, you know, you betrayed me, like, I was 11, like, what was I betrayed about, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did someone else beside me the bus? Like, I was just, oh, it was awful. So, my songs were terrible, they were so bad, but I became so into it, and then obviously as a teenager, you know, so cool to be in a band, so I was kind of the lead singer of the band.
Who else inspired you, or was it you literally just obsessed with Avril?
No, I did love Avril Lavigne. Now, I always had quite an a wide range in taste in music. I was obsessed. Now, this is I'm convinced this is a Strabane thing that have the level of respect for this band. But I was obsessed with Westlife.
Right, okay.
Obsessed. And I have nobody said anything bad about Westlife because they are incredible. Now, one of the games I also liked to play was Westlife, and I wanted to be Shane, and what that game consisted of was me standing in the middle of the street and singing all Shane's parts, and then be like, come on everybody, right, you do Mark's part, you do Kane's part, come on. Like, so I really loved Westlife, and now obviously they're a corny boy band.
But they were phenomenal once they did
Phenomenal.
well.
And also, like, I'm into songwriting, like, they don't write their songs obviously, but like, they have the best songwriters in the country, so their actual songs.
So many number ones.
Oh,
you don't get that many number ones just for being good looking and looking at, you know.
Exactly.
Everyone
so,
knows Westlife.
That's true, like Westlife, and their songs are fantastic, so well written, the actual music is brilliant, so I always think to myself, Westlife taught me to sing, Westlife taught me to write songs, so, you know, loved Westlife, loved Avril Lavigne. I literally liked anything that was kind of a bit poppy, you know, as a teen, loved things that were a bit rocky, but another thing I loved was musicals. I grew up watching musicals.
Okay.
And I do think, like, the musical comedy that I do, it's definitely not kind of like that over the top theatrical thing, because my musical comedy is actually quite subtle and quite laid back.
I agree with that, yeah.
It's definitely not like a theatre kid do musical comedy, but I am definitely inspired by, you know, some of those witty types of songs that are in some musicals that I really love, so kind of a combination of all those things, you know.
Fair enough. So you're, let's say 13, 14 in there, you're well established now. What was the musical department like then? So did they let you, what's the word I'm trying to use here, kind of progress in your own musical career? And you mentioned you want to be a lead singer of a band, and I know from first-hand experience, we have a mutual friend,
do.
shout out to Gary Elliott, I'm sure you're listening, I'm sure you're watching, and he filled me in. That you were actually, I know you were in a band together.
We were.
So tell me about the first couple of bands, and then just there's always just when you meet someone like yourself, and this is really interesting for me doing this as an interviewer. One of the biggest things that you kind of forget about is listening to someone's story. Because when we're in a bar, when you're out and about, when you're chatting to people in general life, sometimes you're listening, but you can't wait to get your point across, which is I suppose what I'm trying to do now. But when you interview, you actually have to listen.
Totally,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm hearing your side of things, and you know, I've kind of, what's the word? I say fangirl, but kind of fanned you on a little bit. I'm like, wow, you know, watching you on my TV, and you hear that. But it started there. You're in Derry, you're 13, 14, you want to get in bands. So tell me how that went. And
yeah, so I always wanted to be in bands because, you know, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I wanted to be a singer. I mean, my voice has definitely improved because people don't know, like, girls' voices break as well. They break by about half the amount of boys do. It's like quite a horrible little nasal voice. But I mean, I still tried anyway because I, you know, passionate music or whatever. So yes, I was in a band when I was about 16. We were called Sunday Wreckage. What a name.
wow.
And yes, Gary was in it as well, and I was the singer, and guitar. So, like, I wrote songs for this, you know, and like,
did you gig and stuff?
Oh, we gigged, yes. So we're in the alley right now. We had a gig in the alley, do you know? We did gig, and we went to all the typical kind of battle of the bands, and this is really weird, actually, really weird throwback comment, but someone commented on my TikTok last week and said, I first came across you at Battle of the Bands. And I was like, what? And she said, and I've been following you ever since then. And I always loved you since then. And I was like, geez, you really owe me on there. Like, you know, because the quality was poor those days. But I just thought that was the most amazing comment. But
wow.
Yeah, so we kind of played bands, blah, blah, blah. And that was me and band, really. I was very passionate about it. But when I was in school, none of the people in my band, I mean, they're Ulster band folk in my band, so none of them were at my school. My school was kind of, the music there was a wee bit different. Now, the school I went to in Derry, the only thing about it was that the other people in the school I felt were quite different to me, definitely very different in background. So,
Okay.
you know, I was in the music class there with my wee like self-taught guitar and now I did go to piano lessons, but I always had an issue that even though I did my grades and that kind of thing, I can't actually read music, so I can only learn by ear. So I was in this class whereas everyone else in the class was quite prodigious in terms of the music and been at singing lessons since they were about 3, and you know, people were playing things that I'd never even seen in real life, like, you know, someone's playing the harp, somebody's playing the bassoon, you know, while I'm kind of playing electric guitar, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was quite different, and I actually found that not difficult, but I definitely found that I was almost like the odd one out in the class, and people were interested in kind of classical recitals and things in the class, whereas I was interested in getting into the studio at the school and recording and producing and writing.
Yep.
So there definitely was a difference, but I don't know if that maybe would have put some people off, but it kind of, I don't know, it kind of inspired me a wee bit, because I wouldn't say a loner, but I was quite an introspective person, and I was very, very shy in school, so I always loved that I would kind of leave and go up to the studio and kind of put myself in there and just do my own thing for ages by myself, and I didn't really care that everyone else was doing something different or something that was maybe more refined, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I kind of just, I just enjoyed it, but there was definitely the quality of the other students in my class. I think that was beneficial for me, because like I wasn't the same quality as them music-wise, but it probably allows you to, you know, if you try and keep up, you're probably doing better than you would just do on your own. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Do you understand what I mean?
So you at that age, you mentioned Battle of the Bands, was a Sunday Revenge or
Sunday Wreckage.
Sunday Record? Sorry,
I remember that.
sorry to get it too. What were the highlights at that age? You know, you start to, I think you tell me you're the scientist musician. I think at that age, 13, 14, you're starting to kind of discover yourself, aren't you? You're starting to kind of discover, you know, you throw a few swear words that you shouldn't, and your fashion sense you mentioned and stuff. And we've all been 13, 14.
Yeah.
What were the highlights of those years? Because that's an age where you can just get away with anything, really, can't you? But at the same time, you think you got your head screwed on. So
yeah.
Give me a few kind of highlights of those kind of ages, you know.
Yeah, the highlights for me were probably the experience of being out and being in a band and performing for people, because as I said, I was very shy, and that was incredibly unnatural for me. But like, I probably needed to be in a few places where there were, you know, rude bossy sound men telling you, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It exposed me to a lot of kind of life experiences, or like get up on that stage and like just do your thing. For someone who's a bit reserved, it's probably hard, but I do think anything that pushes you out of your confidence or your comfort zone is a positive and can really give you confidence. So those, even though I found some things, like I found performing incredibly difficult, I always had very severe stage fright, but I feel that kind of the exposure to those things has been good for me. Like, I feel like if you spoke to me kind of 10 years ago when we were doing this, like, I would be a nervous wreck. Like, there's no way. I'd be like, no, I can't do it. Like, no, I don't want to talk to that guy. No, I can't do it. Do you know what I mean? Because you'd be too anxious, I guess, or whatever. So I think the kind of confidence that I have at this age was really kind of created and built upon from kind of being about 11 up and putting yourself in those situations where you were in front of people and kind of vulnerable in a sense, because you were going to perform, and you know, some people think you're crap and some people think you're good, and you kind of learn to deal with those opinions and kind of learn to just take things at face value. So those were good for me, and those were definitely highlights, and also just getting to be 16 and being in a bar was a big highlight.
Well, this is the thing, yes. So I was going to bring you on to Katana age, and we'll kind of, you know, a couple of minutes of the first part of the podcast left here, where you end up kind of going from school to university. Now, me knowing, living in the island of Ireland for 10 years now, I know a lot of people we joke about it, especially in Liverpool. People over here just kind of, what do you want to do? We don't care as long as you end up in Union Liverpool or Manchester or... So obviously you went to Belfast. Now, you know, I know some people have, but for me, that's a bit of a rare experience, so I'm assuming there was a reason behind it. So you're 16, 17, 18, you're doing your A-levels.
Yes.
How did you end up going from, school in Derry, did you go to sixth form and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to uni in Belfast, and this is kind of where you've kind of sprung your career from.
Yeah.
Belfast. I know the foundations are laid in Strabane and Derry,
Yes.
but your career's kind of pivoted from Belfast. So tell me, quickly how you ended up in Belfast.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't think...
You're going to say second choice now, aren't you? Third choice? Don't say that. She's going to say it.
Great university. No, I don't think anyone knows this actually, apart from maybe a couple of very close friends.
Exclusive, there we go, exclusive.
It's exclusive, that's just an exclusive that nobody will care about. So I was 17, 18, whatever, wanted to do music. People kept saying to me, oh God, that's great, you're going to be a music teacher. Oh, how fantastic, you're going to be a music teacher. Firstly, I couldn't be a music teacher because I can't read music. And secondly, I did not want to be a teacher. My mum's a teacher and her two siblings are teachers, great. But it's just not me, it just wasn't going to be me, and I don't know why, I wouldn't be suited to it. So I thought, right, I'll scrap that, score music out, and I thought, well, my A-levels were like totally random, music, psychology, religion, English. And English was my strength, and I thought, right, I'll do English, but every time you say to someone I'm going to do English, they're kind of like, what job are you going to get with that, do you know what I mean? I'm like, right, what am I going to do? And the person that I was kind of going out with at the time was going to Belfast. So I was originally going to go to London, but the person I was going out with was going to Belfast, and I thought, I am in love. I will go to Belfast too, and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did, and I opened, they were going to Ulster University, I opened the prospectus, and I literally looked through it, and I thought, speech and language therapy, language is kind of like English, surely. I'll do that. I'll go and do that.
And that's that 10 years ago now.
10 years ago.
So it was love or lust that brought you over to Belfast?
Probably both.
I've watched some of your shows. That's
yeah. And it went on to last approximately like another 3 days once I got there. So anyway, but I just think everything happens for a reason. So in this book, I speech therapy, that'll do. So turned up first day, and it was like science and neurology and anatomy, and I was like, when's the creative writing module? Do you know what I mean? I don't know anything about speech and language therapy. I thought it was literally communications, do you know what I mean? So turned up, the half relationship that wasn't barely a relationship anyway was no more, but I was in Belfast by this point, and I paid my fees, so I had to stay, and I kind of went on and made the best friends of my life.
Did you move in with this person, or did you?
We were all in halls.
Right.
So we were in rooms very close to each other, but no, we hadn't moved in together, so kind of just went our separate ways, did our own thing, and I met my best friend, still my best friend to this stage, and in my class, a couple of other girls as well, and also met my current partner, and it is our 10-year anniversary today.
Wow, well.
Another exclusive, which
go.
might get me off the hook for telling that story about moving to Belfast for someone else, but
yeah,
we'll just stop that.
You see all the Plenty of Ammo podcast, you're saying to give one ammo today.
So yeah, it worked. I think it was for the best, and and I was like, oh sure, isn't this what was supposed to happen? And so I stayed in Belfast. So it was a very, very happy accident that I ended up doing speech therapy, because a partner met all my friends, and then my colleagues that I went on to make friends with are also my friends for life. So it's all worked out well.
Well, brilliant. In the second part of the podcast, we're actually going to talk about how you become to where you are now as such, and as I say, we've got a lot of notes that I'm going to go through and we're going to discuss in the meantime, but it's been a privilege the first part of the podcast, so thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be back in a few moments.
The Alley Theatre, Railway Street, Strabane, proudly sponsors the Plenty of Ammo podcast with Emer Maguire. For all Alley Theatre programmes, go to www.alleytheatre.com or call 02871 384444.
Here I am now, backstage on the Plenty of Ammo podcast with Emer Maguire. We promised that we'd do this, and here we are. We're about, 15-20 before showtime?
Yeah, 11 minutes till we go.
There we go. Emer, tell me, what is going through your head now? You're in your element, back home tour. What's going through your head?
Like, I'm excited. You know, I was telling you before, I haven't done a gig here, so I am very, very excited. Also, a wee bit nervous, but obviously nerves are a good thing.
Yes.
I think the half an hour before you go on stage is you're kind of, I don't know, do you know what it really reminds me of? It reminds me of whenever you're a kid and it's Christmas Eve and you just wanted to hurry up, but you're also a wee bit anxious.
Yes.
Like, that's what it feels like I just wanted to start.
Yeah.
So you can kind of ease into it and things. So those are kind of how I'm feeling, but like, I'm really excited. My brothers are coming, my parents, lots of my family, and people who've known me, you know, since I was a little kind of kid. So I'm really, really excited.
Well, I'll let you know a secret. We've just actually interviewed a couple of people outside and I've known you from school times.
Really?
And a couple of friends of your parents. And they're all excited. There's a good atmosphere. I think with what's going on in the world at the moment as well, since we've done our last interview, I think a lot of people are just happy to have a stress-free night and they're looking forward to it. So yeah, last few words, just before you say what this is, we're probably 9 minutes before we go on stage.
Yeah.
You're happy, you're excited, you're nervous, everything roll into one. We are honoured on the Plenty of Ammo podcast here to have this moment with you just before you go on stage. Emer, smash it, break a leg, do everything you need to do. God bless you. What's your last thought before you go on stage?
Thank you so much. My last thought is I hope that I enjoy it as much as I am anticipating, and I really hope everyone else has an amazing night.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much. We'll catch up with you after the show, and good luck.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean.
Okay, welcome back to the second part of the Plenty of Ammo podcast with my special guest, Emer Maguire. Emer, I think you can hopefully safely agree that off air and in between these things we're just chatting away and it's almost you're thinking to yourself, actually we need to get some content here.
Yeah, totally.
But the second part of the podcast we're going to talk mostly about the world of comedy, but I think you agree, man, we haven't quite got to where you are now in the story. We've just got you to Belfast. You've just got to Belfast. You've decided what you're going to do, and here we are in Belfast now. There's a competition that you won, isn't there, Emer, called the Fame Lab. Tell me, is that the start of it all for you, or is there a bit more between?
It's kind of at the start. So, just to speak through, I was up doing speech and language therapy. We did modules in anatomy, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, like, you know, it's interesting. So I then went to Queen's, to their medical school, biological school, whatever. Did masters in clinical anatomy, so it was all anatomy, neurology, basically science. And I was on Twitter, you know, because I should have been studying for my finals, and I went on Twitter instead, and I saw this thing, and it was like, could you explain a scientific concept in 3 minutes using content, good content, like this, you know, star content, clarity, and also charisma? And I thought, probably not, but I might enter it because as part of it I could see that, you know, it would be good for public speaking. Now, public speaking was like a flaw that I always felt that I had, something I knew I wasn't good at, something that I wanted to improve, you know, for confidence and stuff. And I thought, sure, I'll enter that there for the crack. You have to take a video of yourself doing a talk for 3 minutes.
Oh, cringe, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was totally cringe.
Yeah.
And you had to talk about your whatever. But because I was doing a master's in science, I was eligible to apply. It had to be any science topic. So I talked about apes and monkeys and how they have a sense of humour and all this
The
crap.
beavers were missed out on that part, didn't they?
But yeah, so I was like, right, I'll enter it. But the deadline was like New Year's, like midnight on New Year's, right? And I kept saying I'll do it, and then I was like making excuses. No, I won't do it, no, I won't do it, no, I won't do it. So I'd written a script, but I kept being too nervous to record it. But then I was at a New Year's party, and I was having a few drinks.
Couple of drinks.
And my partner says to me, I swear to God, like, you've made me listen to that. You've made me help you record it. And I was like, fine, I'll record it now. So I went upstairs literally at this New Year's party and recorded this video and was like, I'll just send it. And I sent it, and like, I totally forgot about it. And a few weeks later I got this email and it was like, congratulations, you're through to the Northern Ireland final of this. And I was like, well, like, what have I done? So you got to go to a masterclass and all, which was great, like for communication, which was to help with public speaking.
Right, okay.
So I thought, well, this has been worth it for me because I've got to go to this, whatever, teach you how to be a normal human in front of other normal humans. And I assimilated well as an android amongst everybody else.
What's normal these days?
Exactly, not me. And I went into this talk, and it was in the Black Box in Belfast.
Right, okay.
So you had to stand up and do your talk. And my mum and her mate came up on the bus and all, big day out for the girls.
273 up the road.
273, So I was like, oh God, my mask on, I can't drop out. And I went up, I was so nervous, I was being sick and all. Because I'd never spoken in front of like an audience again, I'd never just done a talk. It was about 3 minutes. So I got up and I did my talk, and my talk was about the science of kissing. And I talked all about kissing and all this here stuff, and then everyone
In front of your mum?
in front of my mum, and in front of these 3 judges who were on the stage with you, who then asked you questions. It's like an outer body experience, and then I was grand, I went off stage, and one by one the other competitors got up. They were all men, they were all significantly older than me. Like one was a consultant at the Royal Hospital in Belfast,
Right.
one was like a physicist, and they all talked about like really serious, like the consultant talked about this wee boy who had cancer. Like I'd just been up talking about like
Nothing
Jesus,
similar.
like, do you know what I mean? And he was like, there's just wee boy and I was like, oh my God, like, I cannot, I've made a show of myself, like I'm so mortified. This next guy getting up down my space and blah blah, and like there was lectures from Queens and all and taking part, and I thought I could never step out in Belfast again because people are going to be like, that's the wee creep, with the kissing.
I'm actually cringing for you, but I realised
I
realised there's actually a reason.
Well, there's a positive, there's a positive stance because they went up and they were like, we're going to announce our winner, and they got us all on the stage and they were like, right, Emer's the winner, and I was like, what the hell? They're picturing me on stage checking my pulse because I actually thought like I would pass out from all this excitement. And then they were shaking my hand and they were like, and how do you feel now that you're going to London, to the theatre, to Bloomsbury Theatre to represent Northern Ireland in the UK final? And I swear, I nearly fainted on stage, and I was like, nobody mentioned this, and they were like, that's your prize, and I was like, that's not a prize, like, no thank you. Then I had to go.
Of course, yeah.
So, and I had to go to this weekend away in the Cotswolds with all these English people, like yourself, who were participants, but like one of them was representing like Oxford, one was representing Cambridge, one was London, one was Scotland, whatever. And I was just like a wee dope. I was just like, I didn't know anything. And I was away on this weekend and I was thinking, oh my God, like, I'm such an imposter here, like why am I here? And so we did this weekend training, and then we went to the theatre and had our whatever, and I had to go last that time, whereas it was the first time I was like, oh no, I'm not mistaken again.
Right.
So I had to go last, so spent the whole time so anxious, so nervous, and I went on last, and then I won that one as well. Literally nearly did.
How many were watching at the stage?
Well, it was being live streamed, but there were also like there's loads of people in this theatre in London,
Yeah.
like, and I was just like, it's 3 minutes, just have to do it, and then the audience asked you questions. So like,
It's just like a song that you done, is it? I'm assuming, or
no,
just a
talk.
talk,
I just
right?
did a talk.
And
Good science.
did you get quirky jokes in at this stage where you that
So
with you
that's
about
the,
all?
yes, so that's the thing. So my talks were funny, which was why it seemed so inappropriate compared to the consultant talking about the wee boy cancer, because my talks were funny.
Yes.
Like, because I was like, oh, charisma, well, that's funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Of
And
course,
yes,
yeah.
my one's in London, but it was because I was the only person from here at the one in London, so it was very like my approach to things was incredibly different,
Yes.
to theirs. So yeah, it was great, and I won that one, and there was an audience vote, and I won that as well. And then they were like, I was like, oh, thank God it's all over, and they were like, now you have to go to the World Final and represent the UK, and I was like,
Emer, where did that inspiration come from? Was it your partner, or did you just kind of, because it was last minute at the New Year's party, how did you kind of think, right, I'm just going to be funny with this? Like, somewhere, something must have happened.
So I just knew, so I had written, when I did the first talk, I had written a script, and like, bearing in mind that like writing has always been my strength, like songwriting, creative writing, whatever. So I've written a script, and the script was funny, and I delivered it in front of my partner, and I was like thinking, this script's brilliant, it's great, it's so good. And she was like, the script is 100% brilliant, your presentation of it is horrendous. And I was like, bring it to me gently, like, oh, I have to go perform this in front of people. And she was like, right, what you need to do is, she's like, I'm going to teach you what to, she's like, she speaks therapist as well, and I went to speech and drama, and I was like, I'll teach you. She's like, right, when you say this bit, pause. When you say this bit, take a step forward. When you say this bit. So she was like, kind of coaching me to act how I would be with my friends or whatever, but I was too nervous, to do it whenever I was actually presenting something.
Right.
So she literally put, so I was like, it was like a choreographed talk.
And from, was it I'm assuming it was Belfast to London.
Belfast to London to the World one, weirdly, was in Cheltenham because it's the main science festival. So there was me, there was like South Africa, Canada, you know, but
Stavan.
Japan, you know, Malaysia, all these countries. So we had to have these two semi-finals, and then I won the semi-final, or the semi-final, and they always vote it. And then we had the final, didn't win it, fix. But it was an amazing experience, and the whole time I honestly just went about being like, I don't know why I'm here. But through doing that, I got the experience of like, there's so many interviews before it because it was this massive thing I didn't even know about. Like, I was like on the radio, I was like in papers, like people were interviewing me, people were taking photos, and I was just like, this is so weird. And I kept doing the talks for a while. People would ask me, we're having a conference, would you host it? Would you come and talk at our whatever? Would you come talk at our event? Like I was over at London, all hosting events.
And do you mind
off the back of
asking,
this.
did this start to kind of form a career and income for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. People were like, yeah, so would you, you know, come and do this talk, or, you know, we'll pay you to do this, will you do this, will you know, oh, have you ever thought about working in radio, blah, 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 and like, you know, oh, would you do, with TEDx talk coming up, would you come over and do it, and all this, and I was like,
Where's the most
sure.
mad place or the most surreal place it's brought you? Have you ever been somewhere and you've been like,
Oh yeah,
what am I doing?
I was sent to Kazakhstan, right?
I did not expect this. Here we go. From Straban to Kazakhstan. Here we go.
I know. I was like,
I did not.
I've been loads of places.
Oh, there you
Probably to Bulgaria, probably all over, right? But the weirdest place is probably Kazakhstan, right? They have this thing called the World Expo, whereas it's a difference, you know, every couple of years it's in Dubai, it's in whatever. They're having it in Kazakhstan. They're all me.
Where is Kazakhstan?
It's in Asia. It's kind of below Russia and Asia, near Malaysia. And I was like, they were like, oh, we've got somewhere that we want you to go. And I said, oh, class. They were like, the World Expo. And I was like, class, where is it? They were like, Kazakhstan. And I was like, come again? I was like, where's that? So I went over to
That's a show.
Kazakhstan.
That's a show. I'm telling you, from Straban to Kazakhstan, that's a show you should do.
That's a good idea. Next show, that'll definitely be what it's called.
Copyrights here, copyrights here.
All royalties to you. And like, so I was in Kazakhstan and representing the UK and
Wow.
Northern Ireland was what I was doing. So I went to Kazakhstan. I was like amazing. And
As you
UK, and I was like, this is so weird. And they told us we were going over to do, like, so I went to Kazakhstan for 5 days to do a 3-minute talk. Right? 3-minute talk. I was having a ball. And went over, so they told us, you know, they picked, you know, they picked the best female members from around the world, and me also, and then they like were saying, well, you're going to all do a 3-minute talk, we're going to bring you to this place, you're going to do this talk. Great. They told us on the night when we got there was a competition. Right?
You didn't know that?
Oh, we were all like, excuse me, what? It's a competition, all these people there. So it was called International Science Stars.
What?
So we had to stand up and do our talks to all these Kazakhstan folk. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was,
You were set up with it?
yeah, it was the most bizarre thing, right? And I won, right?
Of course, of
No,
course.
but you know the weirdest thing is about it? Do you know what my prize was?
Well,
It's big, really over the top expensive chess set. And I can't play chess. So I was like all these gold pieces and all. And I was like,
Thank you.
thanks very much.
is that sitting proudly somewhere in Belfast? Or?
It's up in my house. I was like, get an Amazon my shirt on. I can't do it. It's in my house. It's absolutely beautiful. So they give me that. They also give me this massive board this size, set out International Science Stars on Emer Maguire, and I had to cut it in half. We put it in my suitcase.
Oh no.
So it's now sitting in my attic. This big foam thing cut in half. Do you know what I mean? So that is definitely the weirdest place it's brought me.
That's mad. So
Kazakhstan.
I can't get over that really. When you chat to someone, you just don't know where the conversation's going to go, and you could have never. I swear, you could never ever wrote that. But so you were famous, you know, brought you to London, then to Cheltenham, and to Kazakhstan, you know, various things.
It's a natural progression.
But so you've had the passion for music that you've mentioned. You've obviously, I mean, I think anyone watching this or listening to this can see that you've got natural ability for the charisma that you mentioned. You are a funny person, Emer. But you know, you're mixing these up. You obviously got the science part of it, which I know nothing about. I'm kind of just pretending I have a clue about my streets and words, but I'm winging it very well, as we've established. But anyway, so here we are, and now you're established to a point. You've won these competitions. You're starting to kind of form a career for yourself. I wouldn't say you fell into it, because all these kind of things have merged together, which is great to hear. And there's always a story behind people's success. And I would imagine, a quick question before we go on, I'm imagining this is just a start for you. I get the feeling that maybe in 10 years' time, if I want this interview, I'll have to go through 4 people. You're laughing, but I can see that this is a start for you. So let's say I'm going to say this is a start for you. So you've mixed the comedian, you've mixed the music, you've mixed the kind of making a career for yourself. Where does it go to where you're performing? And the Manchester, was it Apollo? Was it, or was it?
I can't even remember.
2,500 people.
Yeah. Manchester, was it Sagegate or was that Newcastle? I don't know. Manchester.
Well, tours and gigs, successful gigs.
Next sort of very nice cocktail.
Making a name on yourself. So tell me, and also you're presenting for BBC Radio Ulster at the moment. You've got your own show doing that and podcast doing that. You're a BBC commentator for arts and culture. So kind of tell me the last kind of couple of years where you're kind of floating about and what you're doing and where you're popping.
Yeah, so I guess as you say, I kind of did fall into it, I just think that my career, or whatever, career is a happy accident, you know what I mean? Because I have fallen into it, and I was doing those sciencey talks and stuff, and they were funny, they happened to be funny, and then I was like, okay, I'm writing songs. Do you know what? Sure, I'll write a wee funny science song. So then I started playing funny science songs, and people were like, God, them songs are funny. Would you come to my work and play one of them songs? And I was like, aye, okay. And then I kind of phased the science out a wee bit for when places were science related for comedy, and just started playing wee funny songs just about myself. Then people started calling me a comedian. And at first I really resisted. I never came out as a comedian, do you know? I kind of...
Lovely analogy.
Yeah, I don't like those labels, but I just, people started saying, oh, comedian, I'll just put you down here as a comedian. And at the start I would say, don't put me down as a comedian, because then people will think that I think I'm funny.
Yes.
Or which don't, or think that, I'm trying to be funny. I was like, just put me down as a science person, and then if it happened to be funny, I was like, happy side effect. But then after a while I was like, do you know what, I'll just write down. I was at some comedy shows and I was like, right, if they're a comedian, I'm a comedian. Write down. There's no requirement, just write down.
Shots fired here on the Plenty of Ammo podcast. Take cover. But yeah, no, so...
I had that realisation, that's not to be offensive to you, but I had that realisation when I was at a gig in England. I was like, so change my website there to comedian, there's no, we can because I was at the least funny comedy show. I can't even remember where I was. I was just like, that was not comedy. Do you know what I mean? I was like, anybody comes up comedian. Yeah. So I started to stop feeling like such an imposter. And then just started to do it, and then people started contacting me for gigs and all that. And the like of that you were saying about Manchester, the 2,500 people, that was a TEDx talk that I did, but it was half between a talk and half musical comedy, do you know? So I started to go to those things then, and the things was going to get bigger and bigger, like that Manchester one. I was on second last, so I'd been at TEDx Newcastle, and I was on last whatever. So I went to Manchester one, I was on second last. I was standing at the side of the stage, this wee girl who was on last, and I thought, that's great there, I'll finish mine, I get to watch her, and blah blah blah. She had all these people around her, and I was like, I don't like it, bring anybody. I was like, who's all these people? And people were being kind of wee bit weird around her, and all. I was chatting away, and I was like, oh, are you nervous and all? And like, I was terrified before I went off, but she was lovely when you get out there and all this here. And then they introduced her, and they were like, we've got, what was even her name? Next up, last person of the day, we've got Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones. And I was like, is that TV show everybody's going on with, right?
Film in Belfast.
Film Belfast. I don't like stuff like that. Like fantasy, whatever. That's not bar. I don't like stuff like that. So I had no clue who it was. Then afterwards, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I saw you wrote that thing with Maisie Williams." And I was like, "Who is this person?" Do you know what I mean? So I was like, maybe that's it. someone said to me at the time, like, that's an indicator of the things that you're doing are getting bigger whenever there's people at
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And I was like, well, you'd be quite disappointed if you went to see somebody from the influencers just be dull from Strabane there.
Well, do you know what, actually,
You know?
let's divulge into that for a few minutes. So the world of comedy, see, we've established you fell into it. We've established that you don't find yourself funny, but then when you, let's be honest, you compare yourself to some people and you're like, oh, they're a comedian. I see your analogy,
Yeah.
Is there any comedians that kind of inspire you? And do you think the way you portray your comedy, if you want to call it as that, and let's not beat around the bush here, and I'll say to everyone listening and watching this podcast, the reason Emer is here with me today is because I scoped Emer out through a song that she did that I found really funny but catchy.
Yeah.
It was the being 30s and 80s.
Oh,
I resound with it as well. But so the comedy aspect of it, who would you be your favourite comedians, or are you just not kind of that? You're just not really bothered and you just fell into it, literally?
Well, it is funny because I never envisaged this as a career, and it's not like I was a 5-year-old child at a birthday party screaming for the attention because I was a comedian in training. Do you know what I mean? Like, that really was not my personality. And I never really watched comedy growing up. Like, I know, like, if you ask some people, they're like, oh, there's this really niche comedian who's American, like, you probably never heard of him. So, but like, I'm like, actually, I don't really know what other comedians, you know, which is probably not a very kind of, you know, artsy thing to say. But growing up, I was really into comedy, because like it wasn't never on in my house. Like, we never really watched, but I was on YouTube, and when I was a young teenager, and there was this guy called Bo Burnham,
Right.
and he did musical comedy, and he did these weird songs about, he did one about rehab for fictional characters, where he talked about, like, you know, the Tony the Tiger being in rehab, leprechauns being really funny.
Actually, maybe.
Over,
See if you were in video on this podcast, I could Google it now and heard it, but I can't do that.
Yeah, he did these other ones, and they were all really funny. But there was nobody really watching them at the time. I swear to God, I went on about 2 months later and he had blown up on YouTube, really, really famous. So I always followed him. Now, some of his stuff is probably a bit too offensive for mainstream stuff, but he is so intelligent. And the thing I loved about him was, it wasn't the comedy, it was that he was so intelligent and his music was great, but the way that he wrote things, sometimes you'd have to listen to one of his songs 50 times to really get the joke, because there were layers and layers of, he's so smart, he's brilliant, because I'm so underrated, I love listening to it.
You tried to do that as well, but when you're kind of portraying something.
Yeah, I think it kind of happens naturally, you know, if you like writing, and it does happen naturally, but I thought he was a genius, and then I started watching Tim Minchin as well, another musical comedian, and then of course people started saying to me when I was doing comedy, you're like this woman Victoria Wood, blah blah blah, she's probably turning in her grave, but I looked her up then, and I thought, there's a song, the duet of Barney and Frida, which is her famous song, which is let's do it, da, 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 about this older couple, and the woman wants to whatever get him on that night, he's not interested. But I heard that as a child, and I could never find it again, never knew who it was, but I always remember that song and thinking, that is incredible. Didn't get all the jokes, but I got the gist of it, and I knew it was funny. So now I absolutely love her as well. So those are people that I've always loved, and I really appreciate their humour and their intelligence. It's the lyricism and the intelligence I like. But then normal comedians who aren't musical, I like Joe Lycett. Really like Joe Lycett. Very witty, sarcastic, humour, dry, I love that. And who's the other guy? Tom. He hosted the Great British Bake Off's like side. Tom Allen.
Right.
The bald guy, he's always dressed in a 3-piece suit. He's very witty and dry and quick as well. So those are the other ones that I'm really into. And finally, Hannah Gadsby. Do you know her?
No, I'm not.
I'm actually going to Brighton to see her.
Very good.
Next month. She is doing a UK tour. She is, she's nearly like a mixture of like a TED Talk and comedy. Very dry, very, very quick. She's quite famous at the moment. She's from New Zealand. She's an autistic comedian. And she's very, very intelligent and very funny and witty as well. So that's the type of humour. Do you know?
No, fair enough. And obviously,
that I like.
growing up in a board town, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you know, some of the jokes that kind of get fired at you when you live in a border town, and particularly Strabane, so we have to give Strabane a shout out. We hear you show them what we're going to mention shortly.
Yeah.
I think I can't think of the word to use at the moment, which is kind of awful because we're chatting, but there's something just, as I say, unique and a bit different. But mention the world of comedy, it's everyone's got different tastes, and there's a lot in the news at the moment that everyone knows about with the Jimmy Carr thing, and other people's jokes and stuff. Now, you've said yourself the comedy that you fell into, you do through music, and you wasn't aiming to make people laugh, it just kind of happened like that. Do you find sometimes in this, let's say, the cancel culture that we're in, this world that we're in, do you find that sometimes some people are too offended with comedy? Like, do you go out your way to try not to offend people, or are you just go with it, but we're always aware, if that makes sense?
Writing songs, I definitely do go out of my way to try not to offend anyone, and I definitely make a conscious effort to. I would never write a song about a topic where I would think anyone could be offended and it would be justified. Do you know what I mean? So I sing songs about whatever, everything. I sing a song about being another child because I'm another child. I make it fun of myself.
Yes.
So I mean, I might say something about how great middle children are, how terrible they are. Your parents must severely dislike you if you're the middle child, whatever. But it's not something anyone could be justifiably offended. But it's totally taken my hand. Or I sing about being 30 and how it means now that you're creping, whatever. But but you couldn't justifiably be offended by that. So my stuff is definitely inoffensive. And I do go out of my way. Like, even if there was I get commissioned to write songs for companies, groups, whatever.
Yeah.
I was asked to write a song recently for this, so random. It was like, we are celebrating Rural One in Northern Ireland. Can you write us a comedy song? And I was like, right, I've got up my farm jokes, and I had this line in the sticks, and I was like, is that offensive? I was like, is that an offensive phrase, like living in the sticks? Because some people are offended by the word culture and that kind of thing. I was like, is that going to be offensive? So I texted someone, I was like, here's an offensive if I take the hand out of you by being in the sticks. She was like, no, go for it. I was like, oh, good. But I definitely would check, and if I thought anything was offensive, I'd be like, I don't want the hassle of that, and I don't want. And I would hate to be at a show where somebody's genuinely offended. And I think it's always good if you, I don't think you can ever punch down, do you know what I mean? Like, if there's a group or whatever that is genuinely marginalised, I don't think you can punch down by saying something disparaging or something, do you know what I mean?
I do. Do you find...
Not for me, but other people do, and that's fine, that's their comedy.
Yeah.
It's just not my taste.
But do you find maybe some people look to get offended these days, or would you say that, although you agree or disagree, that's a different subject? At your shows in particular, you work really hard, as you've just demonstrated, to make sure that you're not kind of overstepping the line. Because this line, isn't it? The line that has changed over the last 20 years, with a lot of subjects, but when it comes to comedy, do you think if say you've done a show and someone's offended and you've gone out your way not to offend them, would you say, oh, well, that's your problem, or would you feel annoyed by that?
Well, it would depend on what it was, because so if that happened at one of mine, I would know it was totally kind of unintentional on my part. So I would probably say, oh, I'm sorry.
Is it a generational thing as well? Do you think maybe, I say we're young, we're 30, and I'm 31, but we appeal to maybe the social media generation? Do you know, and then maybe there's another generation of these same jokes that maybe you could say 20, 30 years ago, you can't say now, but also different ages have different levels of what they find funny. Really.
Yeah, I think maybe social media might have something to do with it for some people. It doesn't for me. I just think that what I like to talk about, what I like to laugh about, just is, I like to be myself on stage, so it's just very much in line with my personality. I'm not an offensive person, do you know what I mean? Liberal, pretty PC, that's just not, it's not my personality. Shock humour is not my personality. I would be, so for me it's not oh, your man made a joke about whatever, cancel him. I've never in my life said cancel anybody. I'm like,
Yes.
well, what's the whole story? You know, what's actually happening? And I understand there's different contexts around things, and I don't think everybody should be automatically cancelled because you need to take everything into account. But I think for me, it's just not in my personality. Like, I wouldn't say something. I know obviously people say different things to their friends, and they might say on stage, or different things to their friends they say on the boss. But I don't say anything on stage that I wouldn't say to my friends. Do you know what I mean?
With you, yes.
Because it's just not, to tell offensive jokes just isn't in my personality.
Yeah,
you know, and it's not really, it's just really that it doesn't come up for me because it's not.
No, 100%.
I would be very upset. See if I upset someone and I thought that I upset them because I said something that I felt was morally wrong.
Yeah.
I would be incredibly upset by that.
Fair enough, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's not my, I don't know, maybe it's the people pleaser thing, but I would hate to offend someone because I would feel hurt to be the source of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I get what you're saying. So speaking of, the audience that you have and stuff, you've obviously got some big shows coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We've plugged and we've mentioned it 3 or 4 times. We're in the Alley Theatre here in
I
Strabane. Which, now, to give a bit of context and background to this, I was actually meant to be in Amsterdam to see Avril Lavigne on this date. And I was gutted, but it was pre-pandemic. It's actually been postponed since, which me and Emer have had a few laughs about, and she approves because she's an Avril Lavigne fan. But it now means that I can come to the show, and I can also get a couple of minutes with Emer after, the big homecoming gig as such. Yep. But let's go into that. So the 26th of March here at the Alley Theatre. 26th February. Sorry,
Fired.
That's the one in Belfast. My mistake. There we go. Correcting me. We won't edit that out because it's real. The 26th of February here at the Alley Theatre. Are you looking forward to it? Are you excited and nervous?
I'm really looking forward to it. I would like to, just since we're on camera, I would really like to thank Avril for stepping aside. The gig in Amsterdam, I told her there was a schedule commitment, there was a clash, and she said no bother. I was thinking she was thinking of going to Strabane herself. So I like to thank her for cancelling. So thoughtful, so that you can come. But yeah, it's 26th of February. As I said, I've never had a gig here, not a comedy one anyway. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. As I've said to you so many times, I think Strabane folk have, no offence, you're not from here, but Strabane folk have.
I've been told adopted Strabane.
Yeah, sure, you're an adopted Strabane, so you clearly do have the summer sense of humour. So I do think that it's going to be really nice because I feel like the show that I've done elsewhere is Inner Element. This one is Inner Element at home, and I'm hoping that I feel really at home and that everyone's going to have a very similar sense of humour to me. So I genuinely, the one I did in Belfast, I did the show in the Ulster Hall a couple of months ago, and it went down so well. It was brilliant. Had such a good night. So good. I don't mean I was so good. I mean, for me, it was such a good night. It was such good crack. And I think the Strabane one is going to be the same, but I think it's going to be, I shouldn't say even better, but
say it.
Even better. You heard it first here, but it's going to be kind of at home. Everyone's going to be off the crack. It'll just be a good night, and I'm really excited for this. I was nervous for the Ulster Hall one because it was one of the first gigs back after COVID, after the what do you call them, restrictions were relaxed just the week before, thank you Mr. Swan, and it was the first one, so I was really nervous, but for this one, I'm just so excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
So am I, and what we will do as well at the end of this podcast, we will spend 5 minutes chatting to him afterwards to see how it went and to get the kind of live reactions, which I've not done before on this podcast, so I'm really excited. But obviously you've got a show coming up on the 26th of March in Belfast. So the Ladies Laughter.
Yeah, Ladies of Laughter. So this is ironically organised by a man, Darren Matthews, who is a great comedian and very funny. I really like him, and I actually admire so much the fact that he's organised this. He's such a great guy. He has organised this Ladies of Laughter, and the first one was in January, so I think they're going to do it maybe a couple of times a year. I went to see it. It was a brilliant night. It was absolutely packed out. So the Deer's Head in Belfast, which I'm now convinced I want to do my own show there at some point, because it's a beautiful room, really incredible. So yeah, I'm going to be headlining that, and it's a full lineup. of ladies, obviously. Well, I'm not a lady, woman. It's a full lineup, so it's going to be really, really good, and I'm looking forward to it. That's the next Belfast one, and then I'm organising at the minute, in talks at the minute to organise another big Belfast show, so people can like my pages online stuff to hear when that's going, because people keep asking when's the next Belfast
We
one.
will obviously post links on our social medias where you can purchase Emer's tickets, where you can see what she's up to and stuff like that. And as I say, I think the big one for now is the up and coming show in Strabane. So the next time you hear from me, it'll be listed just after the show. So thank Avril Lavigne for that. But Emer, do you know what? And I mean this, I'm not just saying this because we're on here, or I obviously am, but it's been an absolute honour and privilege. And
thanks so much.
You mentioned about the public speaking and the way you learn skills and stuff like that. I've actually learned a lot in this interview, but you only learn stuff and enjoy it when you've got such a good guest that's so given. And you obviously had the mix this morning, so I'm really happy. There's me making a comedian laugh. That's twice in 2 minutes, but yeah.
You can be my support acting family.
It's been, I will, 100%. And obviously the next part of the show will be the encore after the main event. But listen, Emer, it's been a privilege. Thank you so much. Just before we go, have you got any final words that you want to say, or?
Just thanks very much for having me. I kind of knew from us chatting and things beforehand that it was going to be good crack, and I honestly really enjoyed that. And it was brilliant, and you were great. It's just like a big love fest. It was so good, and it was great, and I love doing podcasts. And I will get chatting to you anytime for any of your stuff. But no, thank you for having me, and thanks everyone for listening and watching.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much, guys. Please subscribe below, like and share, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Emer.
Thank you.
Well, here we are in the Alley Theatre just after the show, and we're back here with the Plenty of Ammo podcast, and I've got one of the audience members, Eilish. How amazing, before I ask you, how amazing was that? It was brilliant, wasn't it?
She was absolutely fantastic, really genuine.
I think when I was watching, I don't know if you felt like this, it was just everything true stories that she was telling, and the audience was in stitches, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Really good atmosphere in the room as well.
And are you from Strabane yourself?
No, I'm from County Cavan.
And what brought you down here just for Emer tonight?
I've been following her on Facebook, and I think she's really witty.
Wow, and I'll tell you something, Here Coming Back Home was amazing. I can see in the background there, she's loving life. And tell me this, do you think everyone had a good night tonight?
Absolutely brilliant. We all had an absolute ball.
And in a couple of years' time, can you see her being on TV on like 8 out of 10 caps and being world famous?
That is exactly what I was just saying to the girls. She could certainly hold her own right now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Eilish.
Not a
Have
problem.
a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Well, I've got another audience member just here. Anne-Marie has come all the way from Scotland. Where in Scotland did you come from?
I'm from Dundee.
Dundee, wow.
Yeah.
And you come all the way home here just for this gig?
Yeah, well, we saw Emer 2 years ago at Fringe.
Wow.
And she was fantastic.
And tell me this, stupid question, did you have a good night?
Oh, we had a great night. It was really good.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. What makes Emer different?
She's so relatable, I think, for kids these days as well. So, yeah.
See, no, I wasn't the audience in stitches the whole night, weren't they?
Definitely.
And is this the family over here?
This is my daughter and this is my niece.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Did you? Would you be back?
Absolutely.
And I've asked this to a few people here, so see in a couple of years' time, can you see Emer being on the likes of 8 out of 10 cats and being world famous?
Absolutely.
And here she's just over there, just acting normal,
Yes,
Isn't that big? Well, thank you so much. I hope you had a lovely evening. Thank you. Right, so here's the final part of the podcast. Emer has just finished her home show. I didn't know this, most people here didn't know this. There was a bit of a backstory. You haven't been too well, have you, last couple of weeks?
No, just the last week. I haven't been too well. I was pretty sick, and the whole show going ahead was a wee bit touch and go. Wasn't sure if it was going to happen.
She was in hospital, believe it or not, guys. We don't want to go into too much detail, but I've just been informed by your partner that no matter what, you would have discharged yourself to be here. Is that right?
Yeah. I was in hospital quite a lot this week and stuff, but I kind of had it in my head that I had a big event yesterday in Belfast, and I had tonight in Strabane, obviously, and
Strabane was bigger, just saying.
Straban's bigger, Straban's more fun. But I just kind of was like, so kind of, I guess, amped up for this gig, excited, nervous excitement, but I didn't really want anything to kind of stop it. So I was really excited to come and I just wanted to do it, you know.
Can I just say, Emer, and I'm probably speaking for every single person in that show, we actually just spoke to people travel all the way from Scotland, which is amazing. That there, to me, that was special. Emer. Seeing YouTube videos is one thing. It's like going to a football match. Seeing stuff on is one thing. Yeah. It's great, it's good, and it passes the moment. But that there was, for me, I'm using the word special. What if you have to sum it up in like a word or two, what would you say?
Whew, thank you so much. Like, special's a good word, you know. Like, it was my first show at home. I feel like, you know, the shows I do, I feel like there's a real connection kind of with the audience, and there's a real kind of openness and I don't know, it's just good crack. It's kind of like, whenever I do shows, I feel like I'm in a living room at somebody's house, and we're kind of playing tunes and we're kind of having the crack. So I think we should go with the word special, or like a kind of connection, because it's a perfect description. That's exactly how I felt, and so many people stay behind after to talk with me and stuff and say, you know, oh, I know you this way, I was your whatever, I was your reception teacher, and I just felt like that special connection was there, you know. Well,
yeah, but that's end of the day on a great note. Emer's special gig in Strabane. Can I just say, Emer, you are going places. You are already, but you are going on top of the world. Oh. God bless you, you're brilliant. Please stay in touch. I'm honoured and privileged to have interviewed you.
Thank you.
And you smash life in. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The Alley Theatre, Railway Street, Strabane, proudly sponsors the Plenty of Ammo podcast with Emer Maguire. For all Alley Theatre programmes, go to www.alleytheatre.com or call 02871 384444.